I've been eyeing the Kaweco AL-Sport because it seems like a durable pen that would easily survive my pocket or bag. However, I was wondering how well you think it would survive in a drop test sort of scenario. My TWSBI Eco had survived drops, but it has a lot of ugly scratches to show it. I'm a student who can be very clumsy and drop things, so I want to get a pen that would be a one-time purchase because of durability. My friend is the very durable Karas Kustoms Fountain K, except I think the AL-Sport looks a lot cooler and I'd rather buy that. Okay, that's totally cool. It's totally up to you. So I grabbed a few AL-Sports, have a bunch of them because there are a bunch of them at this point. Well, not all aluminum ones necessarily, but they're metal pens. They're heavy metal pens. So there's a couple different ones. There's the raw, which is basically just, you know, shiny aluminum, and this is going to scuff up and all that kind of stuff over time. So this is definitely one that's meant to be tossed around. There's the tumbled one, which honestly, or the, what do they call it, the stone washed or whatever it is, that already looks like it's been roughed up, which is actually pretty cool. You know, it's kind of like when you buy like distressed jeans and stuff like that. So that's kind of neat as well. You can get the blue one, which I like because it's blue and it's more like a powder coated kind of thing. And then there's a solid brass one, which is even heavier. And this one is going to be pretty durable. It's even going to patina over time as well. So there's different options, and this isn't exhaustive of everything that's out there, but it's an example of some of the pens that you get. But essentially the essence behind it is it's a heavy metal pen, which is the same concept as what Karas Kustoms has going on. So Karas Kustoms, they have the Fountain K and the ink, which we also sell in addition to the Kawecos. But you may have seen my video where I took the Fountain K that you mentioned and I chucked it across the parking lot, and twice actually to get that shot, and then I ran over it with my car. I still use that pen today. It's you know, it's got a couple little dings here and there. It's got some character, which I now enjoy because it's part of its history, and I remember throwing that thing across the parking lot. And you know, you could easily do the same thing with this. Now, will it hold up exactly the same? Well, I mean, I think it would hold up pretty darn well because it's still a pretty thick pen. It's not as big as the Fountain K, so the metal itself might be a little bit thinner. You know, I think if you really chucked it or if you really ran over it with something heavy, maybe it wouldn't have quite the durability of a Fountain K or an ink from Karas Kustoms, but it's still going to be pretty darn solid. So I think if you did want to invest in one of these pens, that it would not be a terrible decision, especially if you want something that's going to really be kind of roughed up quite a bit. So I would say it's not a bad choice at all. If you like the style of it, if you like the way that it writes, actually the nib that's on this pen is the exact same one that's used on the Karas Kustoms Fountain K. So they're going to write very, very similarly. They may be tuned a little bit different depending on the manufacturer, but Kaweco and Karas Kustoms, at least as of this recording, both use Bach nibs. So the nibs are going to be very similar. And in fact, the nib that's on the AL-Sport is going to be the same size as what's on the Fountain K. Now the ink has a larger nib, so it might write a little bit differently, but the Fountain K uses the same nib. So even in terms of how it writes, it's going to be very similar. So I think you really can't go wrong either way, but if you like this style better, you can knock yourself out. But it, you know, to touch real quick on your Eco that you have, that's a plastic pen. It's a very different kind of pen, you know. So anytime you're getting like a heavy solid metal pen like this, you're going to pay a little bit more because of the machining and stuff that's involved. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not a bad deal. And then the other pen that you didn't mention in here is the Lilliput. That's a tiny little pen, which I actually really kind of dig for a pocket pen. It's cartridge only, which is tougher, which actually basically these are too. You can't really convert these into an eyedropper or anything. And for whatever reason, the Kaweco converters and the Monteverde mini converters that fit on the Kaweco pens aren't quite, you know, the size to fit into the metal ones. I've noticed that. So, or at least consistently. So I don't know whether that has to do with the machining or the thickness of the metal or what, but it doesn't quite fit all the way. So that's kind of a bummer. So they're really cartridge only. So that's probably the one thing that the Karas Kustoms really has on this pen, is you can use a converter on it. But other than that, I think you would enjoy it very much.